I'm not a Pokemon Go player, I'm not a TikTok user, but TikTok seems to have come out of nowhere and be sort of quite a phenomenon that anybody can create content. Is that a sign of what's to come?
Maybe in the short term, it's a sign of what's to come. I think we're hitting like full critical mass in terms of like short term or short form digital content that anyone can make. I think the idea of like you buy a video for like $93, fascinating. I think the question is always, is it a good video, and does it do what the brand or the studio is looking for it to do, which is ultimately convey a story. How many of us have seen absolute trash Super Bowl commercials that you're like, I know how much that costs, it's millions of dollars, and it's awful. And then you have these other ones that are absolutely amazing, like the Tide. There was this one, I think 2 years ago, about Tide, and it was a series of like what felt like movie trailers, but then someone would have a stain on it. Then be like, oh, it's a Game of Thrones commercial, and you're like, oh no, but then someone has a stain, and it's like, oh, time to go. Then it would go to like a romantic comedy. Genius. It shows the ubiquitous nature of that brand across everything. So for us, I think every single project, no matter what, is someone might come in and say, we want to do face filters, and the question is, why this story for this medium? Does it make sense? Does it do anything, or is it just the pizzazz of it's a face filter? So really having to ask that hard question, which doesn't always have an answer. I think there's been a number of creators that have come in that have beautiful pitch decks, and I look at it, and it's for a VR series, and you can very clearly tell it was a TV show pitch deck that they just like sprinkled the word immersive in there, and now it's a VR series. So that is ultimately the deciding factor. Why things like TikTok or Vine, all of them work, is creators that are working natively in that space being able to really, really, really understand what makes a 7-second video or a viral video work. The answer for viral videos, there's no logic to it. It's just human, the miasma of humanity. But that's a short answer.
Okay. So if we then take a look forward, and let's start with edge networking and the content that edge can provide. Where do you think the value will really sit in that value chain? Is it with the network provider? Is it the cloud provider? Is it the device? Is it the content provider? Who's going to really be winning in that space?
I think the distribution of it's going to be pretty similar to the distribution of today. Meaning that operators hopefully will take a bit more of that, and then if we also happen to make content, then we'll happen to have that, and so on. But I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to vary too much. It's more of a are we going to make it possible or not?
But in edge, you have this sort of interface of the telecoms network, the cloud provider.
Yeah.
The cloud provider then also really getting into gaming, right? If you look at Google Stadia, how do you see that dynamic? Do you see this as the cloud providers are going to use gaming and edge content as a way of sort of getting much closer to the end point of the network?
No, because I think it's we already know. Look, in the case of public clouds, it's going to be a globally available system that's maybe in the hundreds of sites. On the other end of the extreme part of it is we already know there's tens of millions of towers deployed with base stations on them. Right, that's sort of in between. We're talking about actually making infrastructure and other services available in all the infrastructure that's in between these two. Somebody that is an OTT or a public cloud, it makes sense for them to just be a consumer of those, no different than somebody on the device side of it, not necessarily go out and build these things. I don't know why, say, an Amazon, Microsoft, Google would have to go into somewhere like the German market and build out 900 access sites for themselves to somehow be more distributed when they can just consume it as a service anyway. So I think a lot of the things on the operator side is more, how are we taking a lot of the transformations we're doing and the new services we're launching, and then just surfacing those up to make sure that we're participating the way that we should, and then just making sure the thing's connected.
So to some extent, it's sort of a maintenance of the status quo in terms of that dynamic, right?
Yeah, it's not really like an edge versus cloud. Those same companies, have a lot of viable use cases for consuming things they're not going to build out today, right? And I mean, the extreme examples of this is you're not going to have a large cloud provider pull down spectrum, build out base stations, put fiber in the ground, build out access sites, and so on. And I think from our perspective, it's just more that we sell those things to them today, and then on the other side, how should we be expanding their portfolio for everybody to go and do more?